then you want to polish it out.
Polish it out.
Okay.
Now, how important is that, and why are we doing that?
Because if you got this shit on your shelf,
Yeah.
and then you take a nice, clean, perfectly made bisque piece, and you want a bisque in here, you're gonna mess up the bottom of your piece.
Okay.
So this little sharp guy here.
Yeah.
Now they can get real sharp. What I'll do is I'll just
Pop it off.
I'll use the butt end.
Okay.
Kind of
And this really
pop it
shouldn't
off.
happen if you pay attention to what you're putting in there. If you're making sure your bottom's waxed or wiped, or you're on standoffs.
Yeah.
I mean,
and sometimes glazes run. You know,
Right.
sometimes they just do. They get a little thick in the bucket because they haven't been used in a while. They lose a little water. They go on too thick. But generally speaking, this little ring around here can be taken down or off with the stone. See that?
Now this I can knock off or try.
This, if you can knock it off, it's easier than
So, yeah.
scrubbing off.
That's
So-
aluminum oxide stone. I'm making a little movie here because I keep all this.
So we sell these at Clay Planet.
Yeah.
You see how that
Yeah.
removes that?
Well, that's the question. And so, just in general, this thing and all the shelves get the same treatment.
Yep. These, the nice thing about this shelf, this is a silicon carbide shelf, and I noticed that you've got several.
Several silicon carbide shelves.
Yep. The silicon carbide shelves are the ones that resist glaze well enough that you can just kind of knock it off. Now I would try and knock these a little bit with a chisel and follow it up with this. So you get
Gotcha.
that nice clean surface. Now you could then dust this off if you want. I would avoid getting it wet, you know. I would.
But dust it off. What about that kiln wash? What is that about?
The kiln wash is really, you could put some kiln wash on this, but I wouldn't, it doesn't really need it.
What does that do?
The kiln wash is really meant for the other shelves, the clay shelves.
The clay shelves, and do you wet
Yeah,
them? Or
yeah.
there's instructions on
So
it.
you mix that kiln wash with water, and then you brush a couple coats, one direction, let it dry, brush it the opposite direction, let it dry. Give it a couple of coats those other kinds of shelves. And once you get this thing sprayed down, or polished down with this stone, they'll be nice and clean, and then you can fire at them. And that's really it. So maintaining your shelves is important. The other thing I want to just say about the maintenance in general is you've got several runs, chunks. Now you could tell some are older, some are fresher.
Right.
If you have,
What are you looking for?
let's see if there's maybe a little screwdriver, like a little flathead screwdriver, just any kind of screwdriver.
This is the next.
Okay, this little chisel here. This will be fine. This will look great.
Yeah.
If I get a piece of glaze in the bottom of my kiln, I will chisel it out because it might take a little piece of the floor with it.
Right.
But you'd rather have this gone and a little piece missing than this soaking into the bottom of your kiln.
Okay.
Because firing after firing, this is going to melt again. It's going to go deeper into your
Right.
floor, and then it's going to freeze once it cools down. The next time you fire, it's going to melt again. It's going to go deeper into your floor until you'll never be able to get it out, and eventually you have to replace the floor.
So that like over there is a problem.
This is a little bit of a problem. This is probably pretty deep into the floor at this point.
So we can't do much about that?
You might be able to, but what I suggest is you go around the outside and you kind of press the chisel in
Try to take a little
to the
bit.
soft brick. You kind of make a little indent around the outside of it.
You're going to take a little
See
bit.
that?
You're just not going to.
See that?
Yeah.
Well, I basically scored around it just by pressing this into the brick,
I got you.
and then this pops up.
Right.
And you can see that is a glaze strip, and it's round on the bottom because it's gonna start going down.
So
and down.
should I try that big deep one?
This might take a pretty good chunk out,
So,
but it's again, it's still it's worth it to see.
so
Now,
what about that?
it took a good chunk, but look at that. It didn't take much
Right.
floor with it other than what it had already eaten into.
So what? This shouldn't happen.
This can happen,
But
it
it's-
does happen, but at the end of the day, you want to
Look and see what's there and get it out.
get it out. You want to perform regular maintenance on your kiln.
So it hasn't been performed in a long time.
Certainly not. Certainly not. Since this blue glaze got fired on something.
Well, I don't, again,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how that would get there if you have the, and what are these called, these trays again?
Shells.
No, the shells, but what do you call the material? The shelf is made of?
That's a silicon carbide shelf.
A silicon carbide shelf. If you had that shelf there, how would that get there?
Shelf must not have been here.
Well, that's my point. Did somebody put it down there?
Possible.
Oh, that's crazy, I would say. And I'm not, an expert yet. But,
So this is a regular maintenance thing that I would do. I would make sure that you don't have. Yeah, you got a little bit more of a chunk on this one, and that's kind of why I.
that's why you're here. We need to know what we need to do to keep this equipment to last the longest.
So this is why I would score around it.
Gotcha.
See that?
Yeah.
I just kind of make the chisel around, then I press under it, and it comes right out.
So once you got this thing cleaned, that's a good thing to do. And the other thing for maintenance is to vacuum the kiln out. You get a shop vac. You see all this stuff here? See this?
Yeah.
You don't want this stuff sitting on
Right.
and touching and
Gotcha.
your element buried in junk.
And that's like from the last one thing we had exploded, so
Yep.
it's all in there. So we need to, what about blowing it,
So,
then vacuum it? Because
if-
sometimes the vacuum won't work. Should you blow it, then vac, or?
No, you don't want to blow it because
That's a deep one.
yeah, you don't want to blow it because if you do that, you're just going to be getting a lot of this ceramic dust in the air, and you don't want to do that. Get a shop vac, not like a little vac,
But a shop vac.
a shop vac, one that's going to be
Powerful.
strong.
And that's necessary
And,
for,
and run the shop vac around the kiln, around every
Yeah.
groove. There's 2 grooves, 3 grooves, 4 grooves.
right.
There's 10 grooves or so, 12 grooves in this kiln. You want to run the shop vac around it and get rid of all that loose, broken stuff that is blown up over the years. 'Cause
that's-
that will wear out. That'll wear out your kiln's elements faster, and then you're gonna have me come out
Right.
and replace your elements when a little bit of maintenance goes a long way.
Right, and so, and that's just something by observation. In other words, somebody has to be on top of this. So this video, we can pass along to anybody. They'll know, hey, look at it, make sure those elements are clear. And especially if you have an explosion right after that, you better clean it.
Yeah, if something blows up in your kiln, vacuum your kiln out. So yeah, there's going to be some divots left behind here.
Yeah.
But in general, this is going to sit on top of those posts
Right,
down in the bottom there, right?
right.
And so you're not going to you shouldn't really have access to the floor with your wear.
Well, I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
maybe what they did is put a split shelf and it leaked in between.
It's possible, but it's all over the place, so I don't know.
So-
And so that's
Well, I will finish that up and vacuum it, as you said.
yeah.
I have a shop vac I'll bring in that I can go ahead and clean this. Now, how thick are these tiles in the bottom? In other words, what kind of thickness do we have for latitude on? We're not going to have that happen again. It's over.
Yeah. Well, what you want to do, the floor of this is as thick as the lid. It's 2.5 inches thick.
Okay, so we've got a little.
Okay. The floor is thick enough that it could survive having these divots. It could even survive this. This is maybe 1/2 inch deep or 3/4 inch.
Right.
That's okay. Now, if you really were worried about it, and you really shouldn't, you could fill those with some kiln wash. or something like that. Or you could come to Clay Planet, pick up some mortar, and you could pour mortar.
Well, we're good
into
now.
those things. But for now, you don't have a problem as long as you get the rest of those chiseled out. It'll be okay.
I'll put that in. Today I'll get it done. You can leave that out.
I just want to.
Oh.
I want to see how this thing is fitting. There's a little bit of rock.
Okay.
See that?
Yep.
Like, and generally, with a full shelf, if you can get away with it, you want to make sure that it's level and it doesn't rock or knock. When you have a shelf inside of a kiln and it's got some rocking in it, like a wobbly table, when you put more posts and more shelves on top of that, it can break the shelf.
Okay.
If the shelf is wobbly.
So
because you're putting pressure on a point that's going to be floating in space.
Is it because one of these have a buildup on it, or because of?
Possibly.
Now, what do you do to level it? Just put. What would you?
Here's what you do to level it. Either, instead of using 4 points, like a table that needs a perfectly level floor,
Right.
right? You use only 3 points. Okay? 3 points. A tripod is self-leveling. It will not knock or rock. Right?
So 1, 2, 3.
So
yeah.
instead of having 4 points of contact down here, you do 3.
3.
Now, having 3 points of contact is ideal when you have all full-size shelves, because you're setting a table
Right.
on top of 3 points. It's going to level itself. It's not going to knock.
Yep.
And then you put another set of posts
3.
directly over
Where those are.
where the other posts were.
Gotcha.
Okay? And you're going to build towers of posts and shelves in between. Okay?
Right.
And those will hold up. But when you have full shelves and you have half shelves, it's hard to get the placement of the posts right. So it takes a little bit of experience, practice, where it's best to put your shelves and posts, so that you don't eventually start cracking your shelves. And the other way to level something is to use kiln wash. That kiln wash, you mix it to a consistency like milk or cream, and you brush it on your shelves. You can also add less water,
Make it
and
thicker.
you can make it into a putty or,
Right.
or clay. And then what I would do is I would roll a little ring, a little snake of clay, and I'd put that little snake on top of my post.
Well, let me clarify. We've got a full shelf with 3 optimum, 3 points.
3 is optimum, but when you do that little kiln wash buffer, or a little blob of kiln wash on top of your shelf, that means you could take that shelf, set it down on that, and give it one little bit of a push down, and it'll seat itself.
So that stuff will stay pliable.
Long enough for you to create a little ball on top of each post, and then set your shelf on
So
top
you'd
of the
keep
post.
those though in the same spot all the time then?
Once I do that with my bottom shelf, I will leave that bottom shelf in there. I would normally not
Never take it
out
out.
my bottom shelf.
So you're saying that's the way to prep it, and you're recommending I do that?
That would be a good thing to do. That would
So
be a good thing to
take
do.
that thing, make myself a nice paste putty ring around
Make
it,
a
like
little-
a silicon seal.
Yeah, just roll a little snake, bend it into a little circle, set that circle on top
There.
of the post.
Right.
And on each one of these 4 posts.
Right.
Right? Okay. And then set your shelf inside.
Now,
And then once the shelf is right here, you give it a little push to level it, because otherwise you see how it knocks. And that little leveling, that kiln wash kind of fills in the space and lets
okay.
it set level.
So now when I pull it out again to maintenance, we have a leak, and I want to clean it.
Then you redo it.
Then you have to redo.
Then you gotta redo
But
it.
it's a good policy.
It's a good thing to do.
Keep
Especially
your
if-
bottom shelf
yeah.
level.
Keep your bottom shelf in the kiln unless you need to
Clean
maintain
it.
your kiln or clean the shelf. So that is basically the floor of your kiln.
Right.
It's much easier to replace
That.
a shelf or clean a shelf than it is to have to replace the bottom that's been chewed up by glaze. And
Okay.
so there's that.
To clarify one more thing, the second set of shelves, we have split shelves.
Yep.
Now, once that's level, I could go ahead and put I get one.
Post over post.
Well, there's 3 though, so you say post over post. I would have to use 4 for split shelves.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I recommended this 4-post option when you have a mix of full.
We're talking, don't go 3 posts, go 4, put your stuff, and then go ahead and put your posts over the same spot,
Or the same post.
but you'll have a level bottom. So 3 is a good idea, but the better idea is since we have split shelves.
Yeah, and because they knock a little, it's not perfectly level because we got
Right.
divots and we got all kinds of stuff going on with the floor.
We'll get it level, and then
Then-
we build on a level.
and then you
Then
build
we're
it.
in good shape.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, I got that. Okay,
All right, so that's it for maintenance. You know, clean up the glaze chips, vacuum your
right.
elements out.
But definitely necessary.
Something you want to do, yes. Now, the operation of the kiln.
Hang on,